today's Toy Spot, we're going to be having a look at the Arkham Asylum exclusive criminal collection from the Batman cartoon. This comes to us from the good folks at Mattel. Now, I won't be doing reviews of all these figures in this particular review. I'll be doing them individually. So if you guys are just looking to see the review of Clayface, you can watch that separate, and it's not a very long video. Before we actually review these figures individually, let's get a look at the packaging. Packaging is a nice prison kind of cell block area. As you can see, there's bars running through and there's individual locks for each person. Of course, except for Batman, because Batman hasn't been arrested. But the figures in the wave, there's Mr. Freeze, there's Poison Ivy, there's the Riddler, Clayface, Ventriloquist, and Scarface, and then the very crappy Criminal Capture Batman. There were two exclusives to this set. There was the Poison Ivy as well as the Ventriloquist. So if you were looking to get either one of those figures, this set was the only way you could find these figures. They then took these figures and they reduced them to a 3-pack. So there was a Ventriloquist, I think it was Poison Ivy, and then there was Riddler, or they were in their own respected 3-pack. So the Ventriloquist and Poison Ivy were on their own. If we have a look at the back of the packaging, very, very nice lineup here. So we've got all the characters standing in front of the height chart here. And then we've got the more detailed look at the figures here. Down below, a very crappy picture once again of Criminal Capture Batman. I don't know why they have to throw repaints in like this. I mean, they could have just done something else. Down below, bit of a read-up. It says, which I guess apparently I'm known for saying now, but apparently there's a bit of a read-up. And it says, extreme power, the criminals of Gotham City are bigger, stronger, and faster. Now Batman must rely on EXP, extreme power, to charge up, withstand, and take on Gotham City's new breed of ultra-powerful villains. So there you go. Let's get this packaging opened up. And again, like I said, I'll do these figures individually so that you're not having to look at every single figure in this wave. But let's get this guy opened up, and we will first get a look at Mr. Freeze. So stay tuned, guys. And so here we have Mr. Freeze out of his packaging. Now this Mr. Freeze isn't the first time this Mr. Freeze was released for the Batman wave. Mr. Freeze was also released, I believe, two other times as a single standalone carded figure. I have actually that figure here, and I'll just get the accessory here. Here's the Mr. Freeze from the criminal set, and here's the Mr. Freeze from the single card. As you can see, it's the exact same figure. There is absolutely nothing different, there's nothing different between these two figures. They're the exact same. I didn't end up doing the review of the single Mr. Freeze, only because I knew I was going to ultimately do the criminal set, and Mr. Freeze was part of it, so I just figured I'd do the figure anyways, seeing as I had to open up the packaging. Really nice Mr. Freeze. I would definitely say this was one of the selling points for the Batman cartoon for me, was Mr. Freeze here. They took an interesting idea of, instead of giving him the dome helmet, which every Mr. Freeze we've seen has always had a dome helmet, and unfortunately in the Batman and Robin live-action movie, which was just terrible, they continued that same thing. The Batman, however, took the idea that Mr. Freeze's dome was actually made out of ice. And all of a sudden, if you ask me, that was probably the coolest Mr. Freeze ever, was the fact he had this ice dome. The one thing they didn't give him, though, was they didn't give him the ice gun, which I think Mr. Freeze was known for having. Even right from the very beginning, the old Adam West show, as well as the comics prior to that, Mr. Freeze had a gun. In this case, with the Batman cartoon, Mr. Freeze shot ice out of his hands. And again, I mean, it's not a big change that I was upset over, but I really, really like this figure. I mean, it's a really, really nice figure. The sculpt on the face is really cool. You can kind of just make out his eyes, and I gotta say the lighting really, I think, really sells this ice dome. It looks awesome. I mean, now in the way of articulation, he has no articulation obvious in his head because of the ice dome, but he has articulation in the hand, in his legs, and also in his waist. The waist on this figure seems to be quite loose. I'm not sure why, but in the way of his accessories, Mr. Freeze has no accessories. However, the initial Mr. Freeze, not to confuse the two, but the initial carded Mr. Freeze did come with one accessory, and it was a pretty neat accessory, actually. He came with this ice kind of sword, if you want to call it a nice sword. Now, I don't know if the camera's going to make it out, but it looks like there's almost like a liquid inside. At the time that I purchased this whole inside was like almost like water. It was like a jelly kind of water that was inside here. And the idea is you could freeze it, and it would, I guess it would keep the sword cold. Not really a gimmick that you want to be given to kids, but especially if this was to split. But as you can see though, I've had the figure long enough that the jelly or whatever it is inside has pretty much disintegrated. I mean, there's not much really left in there. But it is neat though that they gave you something with the initial figure. And the good thing too, I mean, if you already have this figure, you know, it's not worth buying the single figure just so you can get the sword. But you know, if you were like me and you bought the figure or the figure set for the Scarface and the Poison Ivy, and the Mr. Freeze was just an added bonus, and you already had the initial Mr. Freeze, it's nice to have had this weapon. Not really much else to say about the Mr. Freeze. Definitely worth picking up. If you're a big fan of the Batman and you didn't buy the initial single carded Mr. Freeze, perfect opportunity now to get this Mr. Freeze is with this set. Definitely would recommend it though. But there you have a toy spot. That was the Arkham Asylum exclusive criminal collection, and that was the Mr. Freeze from that set. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and with that, I'll see you guys next time.